I think my mic was not on properly. Welcome to today's stream. Today we're just going to be chilling a bit, have a little chill and chat session, do some testing around Watkins Glen in the Ford Mustang. Also chatting a little bit about yesterday's performance, mistakes were made. Um, Unfortunately, you know, we finished P13. We didn't have the pace. That was primarily based on my own error, loading a Sebring setup opposed to the Laguna Seca setup. Um, that was my mistake, obviously. We were about 2 seconds, about 1.5 to 2 seconds off pace. Um, the quad just didn't have any cornering at all. We were in lower gears into the corners to get the rotation. Even if I dropped the brake bias, to try and get the slip angle into the approach of the corners, then what tenderly seemed to happen is the end just slipped after me every time. So just drove around the problem, drove around the car setup, finished the race in P13, started at P I think 15 or 16, got some points, which is more important. Yes, we faced a couple of drive-throughs as the car was difficult to handle. Um, was a tough race. Do I think that we could have had the pace to be more competitive? 100%. In practice, my race pace was around mid 23s. About a second off the top guys doing mid to low 22s, well, mid 22s. So we were about a second off the top of the field. But we had the pace to be mid pack. Unfortunately, we finished mid to high pack, again mainly due to the incorrect setup. So today I'll just like to do a bit of testing, play around with different setups, see if we can build a Frankenstein in the um, in the interim. Um, See what we can come up with. Um, I'm kind of feeling a little drained. Um, needless to say. I think it's going to be an interesting stream. Really, today's just chill. Not really going to push too much. Um, but yeah, just kind of get a feeling for the Mustang. Coming from the McLaren, the Mustang, obviously, Andrew being in the front, main ways at the front of the car. Um, so learning the car. Not so much the track, but learning the car, what gearing to be in, what gearbox to use, whether we're going to end up using the FIA gearbox or the short stack. We're starting on the short stack gearbox. Short stack gearbox does help for pace out of the corners, but then again, it's not sparse, so it's not massive long straights. Um, But then again, there is a disadvantage. The short stack gearbox is I don't think you get the top end that you do out of the FIA gearbox because of the gear ratio being slightly longer. Um, but yeah, let's see. I know in the McLaren, I'm doing 44s. It's gonna be interesting to see if we can find a setup or build a Frankenstein setup in the beginning. See how close we can get to that before we wait for setup. Um, Updated setups from the team. For those that are new to the channel, thank you for joining. Thank you for watching the stream. It's much appreciated. And for those that don't know, we have signed contract. We're now racing for Thomas Enger Sim Racing Academy team. Starting in the GD3s, learning the craft, and like I said, I've more got more experience around the McLaren, the Ferrari. Tired of racing the Ferrari, to be fair. Raced it for about 2 years straight, a year and a half straight. Um, Moved over to McLaren. Raced the McLaren almost on a year. Enjoyed the McLaren. It's pointy, it's nimble, it's mid-engine, so it's got good rotation in the corners, well balanced, much like the Ferrari. Um, so yeah, usually the rule of thumb is for beginners, when people ask what car they should start with. Usually people kind of point them either, if not the Ferrari, then your front engine, your BM. Your BM's very stable. Um, the Mustang's a good car. So obviously getting used to it. Finding feet in the Mustang. Trying to extract pace out of the Mustang is obviously a little bit different than extracting pace out of the Mustang versus the McLaren, for me anyway. But yeah, I'm just trying to. Also, another thing I'm playing around with the Mustang is the FOV. I don't think my FOV is 100% conducive. So playing around with that. Um, it helped a little bit yesterday in my quali. Um, just being maybe a little bit higher and a little bit closer. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Just going to try to see how we get along and take it from there. So we're not looking to break any records right at the bat. Just try and get a better feeding, better control out of the Mustang. Like I said, try and build a setup that suits our style until we obviously get a team set up to work with based off the data. Obviously with the rest of the team, our top team running in the Mustang makes it a little bit easier for them to look at the data, look at the setup, my inputs, my style, to see what potentially I'm either doing wrong or what should be changed. This is just really a chilled stream today, to be honest. For those that are new to sim racing, um, I think one thing, especially if you are learning a new track or you're learning track limits, there are a couple of ways that you can go about it. Um, you could literally try to drive as fast as you can and then dial it back. Um, as we see the rear end just getting a little loose there, mid corner. Or alternatively, you could build your speed up. Now, for me, something that is, since I started sim racing, a very important skill to have is being able to read the race, read the cars around you, read what's going on around you, and there's some tools you can use that help with that. Um, as you can see, obviously there's no other cars on track, but on the top right of my screen you'll see the relative. That's a very important tool you can use to monitor, especially not only if you're racing just GT3s, but also if you're racing in multi-class and there's faster cars, because if you have that up, you can see it in your peripheral vision. And when you're on the straight, you can glance and look at it, and it tells you how close a faster class is approaching you. I run crew chief, so crew chief, otherwise known as a spotter, can do the same thing. Give you a little bit of a warning, heads up. Um, Usually when you're racing in endurance races, you'll have a teammate that will be assisting with that. Does that mean that you as a driver don't need to pay attention to a relative? Absolutely not. You still got to be aware of your surroundings and what's happening around you at all times. Now, when you are getting used to a car, like I said in the beginning of the video, we're not necessarily too worried about lap times right now off the bat. We have got 4 weeks before the next race, and you know, coming from a professional sporting background, for those that don't know, I actually played golf competitively, also coached golf competitively. Um, and one thing, even there, it took me a little bit longer than most to learn certain skills. So, same thing I find in sim racing. I tend to take a little bit longer to get onto pace, which is nothing bad. It just means you've got to put in a little bit more time than maybe someone that doesn't need to put in as much time. They might have an understanding of the car a little bit better. They might have their own style of driving. Some guys like cars being loose. Now, the saying goes a loose car is a fast car, but not everybody can drive a loose car. And through my experience, and this is my personal experience, I started on a Logitech G920. Very basic gear, doesn't give you as much information as a direct drive. You don't have as much control under braking and trail braking. as you do with load cell pedals. Does it mean that you can't be fast with a Logitech G920? Absolutely not. There are some fast guys that are using things like your Logitech G920, your Thrustmaster T300. I actually went from, see, there we go, doesn't like that. So you need to figure out why. Um, so I went from a Logitech G920 to a T300 with T3PA pedals, and then I got load cell pedals, and then I bought my direct drive wheel, which is a Moser R5. Now, does it particularly make you faster? Not necessarily, but can. Um, and your most consistent will come from your pedals. You could find a little bit more pace. I've also upgraded my monitor from a TV to a gaming monitor, 185 hertz, 0.1 millisecond refresh time. That does help. An example of that is when I was running on my TV, I was only running at 60 hertz. So it doesn't matter then what frame rates your graphics card can output. You are capped at 60 frames per second. Now the other problem to that is your TV usually is 0.5 to 0.8 on average refresh rate time. So what you're seeing and what the game is doing is delayed ever so slightly. Where I thought, for example, I was braking at 100 meter mark or 80 meter mark, I actually wasn't. I was braking. If I thought I was braking at 100, I might be braking 120 or 115. Um, so when I try to push the brake marker further, I would miss the braking point. However, since I've been on the gaming monitor, with the frame rates increased, the response time's better. Have I got faster? Yes. More consistent? Yes. Is the input delay a lot better? 100%. Does it allow me to be a little bit more aggressive under braking? Again, yes. So all these things do play a part. Does this help in the long run? It can, 100%. But there are tools that you can use to help as a better sim racer. More importantly, understanding sporting code, which we'll get to later in this video. There are certain elements, and again, this comes back to when I started sim racing, I was very observant of what was happening around me. I wasn't fast, but I knew what was happening at all times around me. Faster guys coming up behind me, what to do and what not to do. And from a very early stage in my sim racing career, I was told by a lot of guys, we've had no issues getting around you. And the blue flags. Good day. Andre Hildebrandt, one of the guys that I actually used to race with. And actually raced with us in our team at one point. In some experienced days. I was actually going back, Andre. I was actually having a look at some of those old videos that are on the channel. The M2 series on R Factor 2. With, yeah, some good memories. This is really a chill and chat, Andre. How you been doing, mate? Are you still doing some racing? You're still playing those consistent lap times around, giving the guys headaches. Let me know if you're still racing, Andrew. What you up to today? You're racing, chilling. You still Oh, that's awesome, mate. That's fantastic. I don't know if you've heard, Andre. Yosh and I have been doing our racing for about a couple of years now. Since I left SimXP, um, moved away from R Factor, been doing our racing ever since. Um, ran my own league races at one point. Ran my a team. We came second and third in some championships. Uh, and then, yeah, moved over to racing in overseas teams and so on and so forth, and other communities. And now recently, I've actually signed a contract with Thomas Inger Sim Racing. So I'm racing for the Thomas Inger Sim Racing Academy team. Um, well, there's not rotation there. And yeah, did an endurance race yesterday. I'm not sure if you watched any of it. It was at Laguna Seca in the Mustang. Did a fairly good quali, 123.1. Um, but then instead of double checking, I was putting the correct setup on. I put a Sebring setup on, which made the car an absolute boat anchor to drive. It's a boat as it is. And I just went and made that race a hell of a lot more difficult for myself. Oh no, that's that's actually sad to hear. Shame, I chat to Dennis every now and then. Um, he started a new job fairly recently, a few months back. Seems to be finding his feet selling solar panels or solar systems for houses, and I think they do industrial as well. So where are you racing now, Andre? Are you racing? Are you just casually racing? Are you where are you racing now? Are you still racing R Factor 2 or ACC or Le Mans Ultimate? I think we've got a stream running in the background. All of a sudden there's music coming through. Give me a second, I'm gonna have to shut that off. Why? There we go. Why you fell apart? Are you looking for a community to race under if SimXP is not active, mate? Look, I can help with that. If you're looking for somewhere to race, I can put you into contact with guys that do, if you want to do LMU or you want to do ACC, I can introduce you to some communities that are chilled. It's not fun racing primarily on your own. Kind of lose the touch with fellow sim racers and friends, and you also kind of lose that motivation to race sometimes. Since I have too much rotation mid corner. And try a different line through there. See if the setup held. So SimXP is not as active anymore. Where's everyone gone? I mean, is everyone now just dwindled away and doing their own thing, or? Because I've seen guys in the Discord. I just see that's an issue for me on the setup. Dial that out. I'll raise this back a click to where it was. Let's actually try something. Instead of trying the enduro setup, let's just go back to the base setup quickly and try that. So I know, and for this one, they're doing their own thing. Okay. Dude, if you want, drop me a DM in Discord. And I can put you in contact with guys that are either running leagues or communities that are just chilled, you know. running their own leagues in LMU. Unfortunately, I don't run any more. Well, I can't now anyway, unless I've got someone to run it for me. Any more leagues. Because unfortunately, I'm not sure if you've heard, but I've actually signed a contract with a esports team, Thomas Enger Sim Racing. So I'm racing in their academy. They don't usually. They start an academy team. Okay, well that's fair enough, I guess. Um, do you at least chat to the guys in Discord, Andre, when they're around, I suppose. I've tried LMU. I think it's slightly better than ACC, but it's bugged at the moment. Where, especially on the hypercars, the traction control and low wing just doesn't make sense. You can run a low traction and low wing, and it just the cars don't get loose at all. You can't do that in our racing. You certainly couldn't do that in R Factor 2 either. So I think they got a bug with that at the moment, because that just is not realistic at all. So I think they got a bug on that. You know, sometimes you don't need to run leagues. You can, but having someone in Discord chatting, you know, I want to say helps. um, but if you're content, I mean, racing LMU on your own accord, and you know, that's also fair. Fair enough. When you actually joined the stream, Andre, I was explaining that coming from a professional sporting background, playing when I used to play and coach golf, um, I used to actually need to take a little bit more time um, to get up to speed. So I've actually taken upon myself to try and get used to the Mustang around Watkins, because I usually use the McLaren like I rode America last week. Um, I used the McLaren, which I was quicker in. Um, so I thought I'd just get familiar, do a little chilled stream today, um, get familiar with the car around the track. So when the team setup comes out, I'm at least comfortable enough with the car. and there's some data. Like, I mean, I'm in the 47s here, which is about almost 3 seconds off my time in the McLaren. Well, about, yeah, 3 seconds off my time, which I was doing in the McLaren. But yeah, just playing around with the car at the moment. Not really worried too much about lap times today. A topic I was wanting to actually touch on, and that I was going through in terms of racecraft and being aware of your surroundings. Andre is actually very good at that as well. Probably, and this is the thing, is sometimes you don't need to be the fastest on track, but I can tell you one thing for free: getting past you was really tricky. Because you were so aware of not only your surroundings, but where the competitors were faster, where they were slower, and where you had more confidence on track. I mean, you probably had one of the most successful and what's the word I'm looking for? Consistent performances in all the races that we competed against. Faster guys, faster teams, and you just were Minister of Defense, really. Consistent, never tried any fancy scenes. You did some good dummy scenes, which was a good tactic. Caught me out a couple of times, to be fair, until I realized you weren't really gonna send it. Played some good mind games with other guys on track. Got into their heads without them even realizing that you were there. Which a very good tool, like I was talking about, the relative is a very good tool to be able to do that. Knowing the racing line. The other thing I think a lot of guys don't practice enough of is feeling the car off the racing line and knowing how to handle the car off the racing line at race base. I think that's another skill all in its own. There's a lot of increments to that. Oh, Willem Stein, Jesus, it's like you guys are contacting everyone and going, listen, this is like a blast from the past. Yeltsin's got a chill stream up. How are you, brother? Have you got into back in sim racing yet, or what's happening, bro? Or are you busy doing other games and Willem Stein, another solid driver that contributed a lot to the community and to the team. And I was saying to Andre, I was watching some of those M2 races at on R Factor 2 that we ran after the TCR series, where we came back from nowhere in halfway through the season and we put in the time and the effort, and we actually ended up coming second in the TCR series on R Factor 2. And then we went into the M2 series, and I think we became a team that was nowhere. No one took us really seriously, to a team that everyone then started grinding and practicing and preparing for the races a little bit better. Good old days. The good old days. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, Willem, but I've signed on with an esports team called Thomas Enger Sim Racing. I'm racing for the academy team. The Discord's still live. I don't know if you're in there, not in there. If you want a link, send me a send me a DM on Discord and I can add you if you're not there. So getting back to like the race awareness, and I don't think a lot of guys practice a lot of racing off the line and understanding, defending, when to defend, when not to defend. I still see a lot of guys moving under braking, which technically, by the rule book, you're not meant to do it. And what I mean by that is, if I've got a car coming up behind me, I can't brake and move across the track. You're not meant to do that to block them off. You've got to hold your line. Doesn't matter if you're going to defend. And I'll give an example. If I've got a car behind me and I know that I've jeopardized my run out of here and I've chosen to defend, I'm staying on the inside here early. I'm not going to be on the left hand side of the track and then come across. I'm going to be here and push over and take more of that line. And again, yes, it compromises your line, but you at least get the inside for here, and then you can get back on the racing line. Now, the question is, when do you defend and when do you not defend? Because sometimes offense is actually the best defense. And that's something that I've learned, is not every time a car gets close to you do you have to dive on the inside to defend the next corner, unless you've made a big mistake. Sometimes it's staying on the racing line and just maybe outbraking them. If they move onto your inside and you've got room to push your brake marker a bit forward, then push your brake marker a bit forward. Technically what tends to happen then is the car on your inside I'm just swinging in my hands, the car on the inside will try and outbrake you. and that's when they miss their brake marker, and you just turn in slightly later, and they that's when they usually shoot through and miss the corner. Um, the other way is if you decide to stay on the racing line. Um, so if you're this car, yeah, on the racing line, and you've got a car coming up on your inside, even if he is slightly nose ahead before the brake marker, is you on the racing line, what you can actually do is just brake slightly harder initially, and as they turn in, you come from the wider line and get the undercut done. Um, so there are other ways of defending. Um, it depends on the situation, really. You're back into sim racing, but flying planes now. What? What, on Flight Simulator? Well, what do you mean you're flying planes? Radio control planes? Uh, Flight Simulator? What do you mean you're flying planes? You got a flight sim now. Is that what you got, William? I've watched a couple of streams where they play flight sim. Okay. Do you? Oh, is that because you're getting older? I don't know. Or you? Why flight simulator? What created the interest in that? Why didn't what? Oh, let me ask you another question. If you're doing flight sim, if you're doing flight simulator, um, why not? Why not sim racing? What is it? Just something different? Is it you're not interested in the politics? I don't know. Are you just flying on your own? Are you part of a community? Is it like I don't know? Is it what interests you in flight simulator versus coming back to sim racing? I know it's politics in sim racing, but yeah, we've had our fair share of that. I mean, it's everywhere. Um, I want to say everywhere, but in general, sim racing is always politics. Um, I'm not sure if you're aware, Willem, but yeah, I've signed on with Thomas Inger Sim Racing Academy, esports team. Um, so no longer doing running any leagues at the moment. I stopped doing that for a while. Um, I think the last one I ran was about 2 years ago. And I think that was a GD4 series. I think Andre's still racing that. It was the MX5. I'm not sure. I know Andre did the Clios with us, and I think the MX5s. I think the MX was it the Clios and the GD4s that you did with us, Andre. Still running and all. Buddy, drop me a message in Discord. I'm affiliated to Moses, so I can get you direct pricing for Moses setup. Buying in South Africa is very expensive, dude. I think I got the last one at some stage. Moses did sell and take a lot, but I got the last one in the country about 2 years ago. Year and a half. Half. How long have I been in my house? Yeah. About a year and a half. This June will be 2 years ago. I bought my Moser. I think, if I'm not mistaken. Last June would have been a year, so it's year and 9 months ago I bought my Moser R5 setup. But I bought the R5 base on Takealot, but I bought my wheel mod and my wheel from someone in the I think Slowpoke Racing team. Yeah, it'll be 100%. 100%. I thought about getting a flight sim, but yeah, then it's getting a joystick or yoke and stuff. No, it's just money. And then I'm gonna need. And then what do I do? Where do I put my sim rig? And I can move my sim rig and put flight sim stuff next to it. I don't know. It's just, it's just a nightmare to be honest. Imagine flying a plane with a wheel and pedals. That would be fun. And I mean, sim racing gear. I'm not talking about flight sim gear. I know there's pedals, but it's for riders and stuff like that, not for. That would be freaking funny. Probably do it with a joystick, I guess, or keyboard. I think, I can't even remember when I was a child, it was also a flight simulator, but it was like one of the first ones that came out, like in the 90s. I think that's the last flight sim I played, was the original flight simulator from Microsoft. It's not as detailed as today. So you do have sim gear. Am I understanding you correctly? What Thrustmaster setup have you got? The T300. And what pedals? The T3A pedals or I'm sure I've seen on Steam you've been on on a Assetto Corsa. I might be mistaken. So you have got some gear, you're just not racing, you're flying. Oh, yeah, no, Oh, Thrustmaster for Flight Simulator gear. Okay. Okay, so you got the joystick and everything. And the pedals for the rudders and stuff? The whole setup. Or just the joystick. Because that's what I played the original Flight Simulator on in the 90s. Was just a little joystick. Meh. But now you obviously get your yeah, the whole bang to the throttles, the steering, the pedals for the rudders and everything. I don't know too much about the flight sim stuff. I've just seen a couple of YouTube videos where guys are flying. Some guys have got some serious kit. It's like the truckers. It's like the guys that play Euro Truck and American Truck Simulator, and I mean some of those oaks build wicked sim rigs. Like seriously wicked. There's a guy I'm following. Oh, I forget his name now. But he's actually got proper. He's even got a passenger seat. He's got triple screens. He's even got a passenger seat and like a middle console where he's got his cool drink and his juice and water and stuff and snacks. Okay, oh, it's pretty sick. How is flying though? I mean, it's always something I've wondered about in terms of some most compared to some racing is obviously much more chilled, but intense in its own way. Because I think when you're going through the different licensing, like I know in flight sim you start with like a little Cessna and you got to do challenges and stuff to work your way up to the Airbuses and being able to own your own company. Oh yes, no, 100%. Oh no, it's sick. It's hectic. I know, it's actually spent money. big money. But you get that in the flight sim as well. Some guys have, if you have a look on YouTube, there's a, but then I mean, if I was also earning in dollars, you know what I mean. If I was also earning 20, $30,000 a month to go and spend to take $5,000 and just blow it on equipment is like nothing for them, you know. I mean, if I was earning $30,000, and you can blow $3,000 a month on hobbies and crap like that. I mean, in South Africa, it's a lot of money. You know, $10,000 you can buy a second-hand car for that price. You'll probably buy a second-hand car for $10,000 in America anyway. Oh, that's cool. That's sick, dude. Yeah, then stick to your flight sim. If you're gonna go and study to be a pilot, then at least you're getting some sort of head start. Because even pilots, they train on simulators, but they train on proper simulators. So it's not quite half a plane, but it's at least the front section where you board onto, and then you go into the cockpit. So it's literally from the door where you board onto an Airbus, um, and you're and yeah, it's pretty much a cockpit up to the entry door, but it's full motion. It's insane. It's sick. That's what they'll train you on. Apart from your practical, obviously. Practical, you'll fly proper, like a Cessna, what's commonly known as a Cessna single. Oh, but that's cool. If you're gonna be training to be a pilot, that's cool. I've got a friend of mine's daughter and son are pilots overseas already, and they own her parents own a farm, yeah, and they own little planes. And she learned to fly and did a. Andre's got a race coming up. Cheers, Andre. Enjoy. Good luck. Have fun. Thanks for coming onto the stream. Yeah, I'm not really riding anymore, to be honest. Just chilling and chatting, like the stream says. Chit chat stream. There's a race that I want to start watching, I think, at about 10 to 2. But I haven't really fiddled around too much of the setup um, on the Mustang for Watkins Glen. Gonna play a little bit more. Got a month before the Watkins Glen round at Watkins Glen, so there's a lot of time. And where are you working, Willem? Are you still working for the same company, or are you? Yeah, 100%, dude. Have you got a YouTube channel or anything? Or do me a favor, drop me a Discord message. I'd actually like to see that stuff. So I mean, send me a Discord. I'll send you a Discord invite. You can stream it in Discord. It's cool. It's no problem. Who knows? Maybe we can do a flight sim. Add flight simulator to the Discord, and you can run it if you want. It's up to you. I can't run anything in there in terms of leagues and stuff. There might be other people in the Discord that's either plays flight sim or interested or wanting to start flight sim. You can do with what you want. You freelance. What do you freelance? Those that haven't subscribed that are lurking in the background, that I mean, you guys can get involved in the chat. You guys can like, subscribe, share the content, share the streams. All helps for the algorithm. But yeah, thanks for coming, hanging out, chilling in the stream, having a chat. Okay. Well, drop me a message. I might have some ideas for you. Um, might have an idea for you. It'll be up your alley. Cheers, buddy. See you again. Cool, guys. I think I'm gonna end the stream there. It was really just a chilled stream. We weren't trying to break any lap time records. I just want to get a feel for the car around Watkins Glen. I think we'll wait for a setup. Take it from there. Just build a bit more confidence in the car. It is doing a couple of things I don't like. Mid corner in two in the middle sector and coming on to in the third sector. We'll figure out why it's doing it. Look at the data. Hand it over to my coach. And figure out, is it something I'm inducing? Is it maybe oversteer and that's causing it? Is it maybe diff? It is a big chunky vehicle. But thanks everyone. I don't know if we'll stream tomorrow. We might. And I've got practice tomorrow night. We'll see. Maybe we'll do a stream tomorrow. I'll have a look at the schedule. What races are coming up next week? Maybe we can schedule a stream or two in the week and see what's coming up. But yeah, thanks for the chat. Thanks for coming to chill and hang out and have a chat. Willem, if you're still here, cheers, bud. Look forward to your Discord message and yeah, we can get something going on the flight simulator side. Cheers, buddy. Cheers, everyone. See you around. See you on the next one.